Nothing Personal starts in 30 seconds. It's just business. This is Nothing Personal.
Here you go. Here you go.
Destruction. That's the Nothing Personal word of the day. It is Thursday, January 9th, 2025. Today's episode is brought to you by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Destruction. There is no other word we could have used today to talk about what is going on in Los Angeles. When you are reading about natural disasters that occur, if it's not in your backyard, you tend to read about it and do a little pass the broccoli situation. It always happened with hurricanes. If the hurricane's in Tampa or in Miami, oh, what a terrible situation. But it's not where we are. When it impacted us in Miami, we would get calls from people. When there was a hurricane in Tampa, we'd get calls. Are you okay? I feel like I'm doing that a lot with people in LA. Are you evacuating? Are you okay? Because I don't have an understanding of the map and I'm trying to look at maps and what's on fire. I know that my daughter has evacuated her apartment in right outside the Palisades fire. It was only a matter of time until this tragedy and sports started to intersect. I was talking with somebody yesterday, and the conversation was about whether or not a fire could actually destroy a city. And we got to talking about the Great Fire of 1871 in Chicago. It is not out of the question that a natural disaster, whether it be a fire, whether it be a hurricane, whether it be an earthquake, whatever the case may be, you just don't know what the future is of any particular building, of any particular community. We talk all the time about our stuff. We all have so much stuff. We're seeing pictures of people whose houses have burnt down, looking in amazement, thanking God that they're alive, that their pets are alive, that their family is alive, recognizing when they wake up in the morning, they will have no more material stuff. Sports leagues have a unique position. It's not like a local business where you make a decision. Are you going to open the business today? Are you going to keep the business closed? You can make the decision. You can put it on your website. You can have a message on the phone when people call, or you can do nothing. In sports, when you are going to cancel a game, postpone a game, it requires a huge number of protocols to have been put in place, checklists to have been gone down thoroughly. It started with the NHL. The Los Angeles Kings had to postpone their game that was being scheduled in the downtown area where the Kings play. And that was even before the next fire broke out that it was impacting and maybe was putting downtown LA in jeopardy. I don't believe that's happened yet. Not out of the question. When you are in a city and you see that something's happening, your first job and what you are told to do and what you are forced to do is you call the commissioner's office. There's someone in the commissioner's office who's in charge of scheduling, who's in charge of postponements. In baseball, it's something as innocuous as a rain out, a rain delay. It's the same group of people who you deal with for hurricanes, for any sort of flooding, for any natural disaster, any issue that happens in your community. If there is an active shooter, if there is some sort of danger to your fans or to your players, there is one group of people who handle that within baseball. You call them up and you say, I think we have to start talking about alternate plans for this game. Before you are given the right to postpone a game, the league does several things. One, it calls on its local security people, local law enforcement people in the area where you are. The number one issue before deciding on a postponement is the safety of the players. We always say the safety of the players and the fans, but in terms of order of operation, it goes safety of players, staff, and fans, because the players and staff are at the ballpark, go to the ballpark before it would be open to the fans. You have in there the safety of the workers, the ushers, the ticket takers, the parking people, anybody who is the concessionaires, anyone who is what's called a game day staff. There's a timeline by which you have to announce a postponement, because game day staffs are put together day of game by the concessionaire. There's a call-in that you do when you are going to work the hot dog vending, the hot dog concession area. You call into that game. You can do it by game, by series, by homestand. But there's staffing that happens because you give the attendance that you expect for the game, the turnstile, not the announced attendance. No one cares about that. The turnstile, then what sections are going to be open, what concession stands are going to be open in that section, and then how you're going to man them. You do the same thing for parking. You do the same thing for security. So everyone has a call time of when they have to be at the ballpark. And you've got to postpone a game before the first call time people are leaving to get to the ballpark. So you don't postpone a game. Now think about in baseball, when there's a rain delay, you come and you show up and you staff the game as usual. If you know there's rain in the forecast, if a rain delay is a half hour, an hour and a half, there is just an extra amount of money that goes to the hourly employees, but they come into the ballpark as scheduled. When there is a storm like a hurricane, it's a different thing, in which case you are telling them well in advance. With these fires, it is not a minute-by-minute decision. The NHL is not saying, well, let's see what happens later on today before we make that decision. They don't have that luxury because the game was going to be last night. There was no possibility of a game because, A, you couldn't count on the safety of the people getting there. B, you couldn't count on the safety of the people once they are there, workers and fans. And C, you cannot allocate the resources, both police and fire rescue, at a sporting event when they are out fighting fires, saving lives, saving property from total destruction. Once the decision is made that you are going to postpone the game, you then get into round 2 of the discussion, and that involves the other team's union rep. Then it involves the entire players' union, and then it involves the other team as well, the front office, and you figure out, are you going to play a doubleheader the next day? Are you going to have them come back later in the season? Is there a chance you'll not play the game at all? All of those things happen after the decision to postpone. So the NHL postpones, and for whatever reason, the NBA has not yet announced the postponement of the Lakers game. They're hosting the Hornets tonight. There is no chance that they're going to play at LA Live, at the Crypto.com arena, which it's not called that anymore, I don't think. There is no way that the Lakers will play a home game tonight. The state of Los Angeles is a state of complete emergency, complete mayhem, complete loss of life, property, complete destruction. The chance of a sporting event at all today, 0. So what do you do if you're the NFL and you're hosting a game there on Monday? The Rams are hosting the Vikings in a wild card game Monday night. The NFL went with the conservative route. They gave a statement last night where they said that they will continue to prepare for the game to be played at SoFi Stadium. What's that code word for? That means that you have the graphics people dealing with the graphics on the field where you paint in the wild card logo and the playoffs logo. That means you've got the broadcast people with the trucks getting wired in. You've got people getting ready with the in-game entertainment. You've got the clubhouse people getting the clubhouses ready. The NFL said it will continue to prepare for the game at SoFi, but they announced that if it does have to be moved, it will not be postponed. The game will simply be played in Glendale, Arizona, where the Arizona Cardinals play regular season games. What does that mean for the Vikings and for the Rams? It means that the traveling secretary for those teams is working on hotels in Glendale. They will secure hotels in Glendale. It means that they've got flights ready to go from LA if you're the Rams to Glendale. The Vikings, who have not flown to LA yet, I actually haven't read that, Coca, but I would assume that it's only Thursday, that they would not have flown yet. My guess is they will fly Friday or Saturday and Sunday for a Monday game. But you are making contingency plans, and it's not a traveling party of 5 people. You're talking about 100 people traveling. You have to arrange both things at once. You arrange to go to LA, you arrange to go to Glendale. It means the in-game entertainment people for the Cardinals are on alert. They are getting that stadium ready in case they have to host the game Monday night. You can't make the decision Sunday to play in Glendale Monday and expect the field to be ready, the graphics to be ready, the broadcast trucks to be there and plugged in and ready to go. It doesn't happen in a day. The NFL certainly bought some time, but there is no way they can wait much longer before they announce what they're going to do Monday. I would expect no later than Saturday for a confirmation that the game will be moved to Glendale or the game will be played as scheduled at SoFi. But with the fire not contained at all, I think this morning I saw it is still 0% contained. I do not see a path for any sporting event to be hosted there over the next 4 days. The days happen quickly. It's already Thursday morning in LA, 5:11 a.m. live. If you're watching this on DraftKings Network, it is 7:11 a.m. where you are on the West Coast. It's already Thursday. Of course, it's always hard to talk about the sports side of it, the logistics side of it. People are losing their homes. People are dying. I don't want to come off, as Coca worries that I do, as being uncaring. I am not. However, when you are running a team or a league and you've got games to put on, you've got shows to do, which is what they are, you can't afford to be anything other than diligent and organized in how you approach the disaster that is in front of you. As the host of Nothing Personal, I can be way more empathetic and way more caring about what's going on to the people of LA. But I think my job for you is to tell you what's happening behind the scenes. When you have a situation with your team where there are evacuations, we've had it many times in Florida when Miami Beach gets evacuated, when there's a hurricane and you're forced to board up your house or put hurricane, oh my God, Coca, come on, shutters. Thank you, Coca. Hurricane shutters up. We had a rule that was a simple rule that we had over 15 years in Miami. A tropical storm watch or warning, we're open for business. A hurricane watch, we're paying attention, but we're open for business. A hurricane warning, we shut it down. We activate the emergency hotline. We close the offices. We send the front office people home to take care of their families, to take care of shuttering their house. And this was way before COVID, way before people could really work remote. This is when you had to have a phone chain, a call-in number, a hotline to get updates on what was happening with your company. We had an entire vat of supplies that we would give out to each employee, plastic bags to cover your computer, tape to close and shut your drawers firmly shut, clear your desk. The baseball people had things in place to protect the baseball equipment, the pitching machines. We would take care of the fish tanks at Marlins Park. We would work with the people at the Dolphins when we were still a pro player, when there was a hurricane warning. But the games were a separate issue. If the team had road games during a hurricane in Miami, the games went on. We would offer the team plane to the family members of our players if the players wanted their families to come with them on the road to evacuate their homes when a hurricane was coming. But we expected all players to be available to be with the team. I'm thinking about this because of what's going on with the Clippers right now, where Kawhi Leonard has left the team to be with his family. His family was in an evacuation area, reportedly. His family was evacuating. And I wanted to tell you that I am understanding of Kawhi Leonard wanting to be with his family. He missed the first, 30 games of the year, came back for a couple games, and now he's back leaving the team. The Clippers had a game at Denver last night. They do not play again until Saturday, so they've got 2 days when they have a home game, which I assume is going to be postponed. But if you have a player and you excuse that player, you have to be prepared to excuse all of your players. And you're going to say to me, but David, there are exceptions. There are points where if Kawhi Leonard's family is in the evacuation zone, but name another Clipper. Can you imagine this is happening on a live show right now? Literally right now. James Harden would be a good one. Thank you, Coca. Why did I want to say Paul George? Because that's from last year. He's now a Sixer. I'm trying to think of if I can name any Clippers. This is horrid. It's not even me admitting that I can't name them. It's me being honest with you. I blanked. So let's clean that up right now, if you don't mind, Coca. 4, 8, 6, 9. Think about the other Clippers like James Harden. If he sees that Kawhi Leonard has been excused because his family was evacuating, why does that mean that James Harden shouldn't be excused if his family is in LA, but they're not in an evacuation zone? But I can tell you that when you're not in an evacuation zone, you could become in an evacuation zone in a minute. These fires are moving, they're burning, the winds are flowing. How do you tell one player that he can do something and not tell all players? Are you willing to forfeit a game because you are going to let all of your players have excused absences? I understand the harshness of that statement, but think about it practically. How do you treat one employee differently than another when it comes to a disaster? Are you saying that Kawhi Leonard's family is more important than Harden's family? Of course the Clippers aren't saying that. Did Kawhi Leonard, was he the only one who asked to be excused? And so they said, we'll excuse him, but if anyone else asks, we won't allow it? Or did they say, whoever asks, we will allow them to be excused? And then are they going to tell the NBA they don't want to play the game? Or do they play it with their G League players? You're the owner of the team. You don't want to come off as an absolute jerk. So you can't have it out there that you were not caring about your players. So you're put in this horrible position. What we tried to do is get in front of all of that by offering the players and their families transportation out of town, by offering them shelter, whether it was at Marlins Park, if the hurricane were somewhere else, offer them shelter in the clubhouse. But it was always under the same thought process that the games are going to go on and we need the players to play the games. We'll see what happens here with the Clippers. Obviously, I am hopeful for Kawhi Leonard's family. I'm praying for all of them, for everybody impacted. The stories, and don't do this political stuff. Give me 2 minutes on this, Coco. We didn't say we were going to do this on the show. Just give me 2 minutes on this, please. Can you explain to me why anyone would look at these fires and start to make it a political issue? And to talk about Megyn Kelly talking about the fact that it's because the fire department is into diversity and inclusion. That's why there's all these houses burning down. Or people that say, oh, it's just the rich people whose houses. Who cares about celebrity houses? That's just the people you're hearing of. There are millions of businesses, hundreds of millions of dollars of lost revenue. There will be insurance issues for years. This is a catastrophe. And it doesn't matter that you're a movie star or that you are someone who's never been on anything but your own selfie. It feels the same when you lose something, when you get violated, when you get robbed, when you lose your house in a fire, when you're the victim of a crime. Just because someone has money or doesn't have money, fires don't care. The fact that people, one more thing, Coca, I'm sorry. The fact that people on either side of the aisle are trying to use this as a way to further their agenda is shameful. If you're Bill Belichick, do you want to coach in the NFL? I posit that because when Bill Belichick left the world of media, which he was in for 1 year, purportedly making all this money, where Le Batard and I disagree as to how profitable it was for Bill to do all the media stuff he was doing. But either way, he joins North Carolina for $10 million. And then we get word about these weird buyouts. And then we get word yesterday that NFL teams are reaching out to Bill Belichick, including our dear friend Tom Brady. How great is that? How does that phone call go? Bring. Coach, it's TB. TB12 here. Hey, what's up? What's up, TB? What's up? Hey, we're looking for a coach. Want to come to Vegas? Does your girlfriend want to come to Vegas? We got a suite for you at Bellagio. He hasn't even started his 5-year contract. He hasn't coached a game. He's going on like his first recruiting visits. And there's already talk. He already hired his son to be on staff. There is a NFL insider, Diana Rossini. She said Bill Belichick has no plan to return to the NFL. She was told that his sole focus is on coaching and recruiting for North Carolina as he continues building the Tar Heels' future. He's recruiting today in Jersey, she said. Here's a little thought, and I am not an NFL insider. I have zero sources. It's not what I do. I don't break news. But let me ask you, if you get a call, whether it's TB12 or somebody else in the NFL, and you're Bill Belichick, and you are given complete control as GM, as coach, you are given $10 million, the same 10 in North Carolina, and you are back to patrolling the sideline in the greatest league in the world. He'll leave North Carolina so fast your head is going to spin. You think Bill Belichick is loyal to the Tar Heels because he just took the job? It can be a week, a year, 2 years, 3 years. Harbaugh with Michigan. Oh, I love Michigan. I'm a Wolverine through and through. Hey, I'm just saying, I'm listening to offers from the NFL. All right, I'm going to come back. Hey, all right, I'm going to listen to offers. Hey, this one looks good. Let's go to the Chargers. That's Harbaugh. You think Belichick is any different? He will be listening to NFL offers until such time as he is back to being an NFL coach. This is not a situation where, like a Bill Cowher situation, where he just doesn't want to come back and coach. He's happy to be in the media. He likes the lifestyle. He doesn't want the tourists anymore. Bill Belichick wants to coach. He's a coach. He wants to be carried off the field horizontally. There are people like that. I'm in. The ultimate goal for Bill Belichick, did you watch the press conference and think, oh, this makes perfect sense? This is where he's wanted to be. He is comfortably set up in North Carolina. He loved the student housing. Jokes notwithstanding, the age difference with his girlfriend, which of course is all ridiculous to talk about, that's why he was going to a college campus. It's an easy prediction. If Bill Belichick gets an offer to run an NFL team with full power and control, he's going so fast your head is going to spin. You think he's upset because he gave his word to a bunch of recruits in Jersey? What are you trying to picture Belichick? Hello, son. My name's Bill. You want to come to Carolina? Hold on, I'm getting a call. It's like being called up to the big leagues. And this is not me in any way impugning college football. But none of you think that college football is ahead of the NFL, I assume. You can say college football is ahead of basketball and baseball and hockey if you want. I'm not going to argue or quibble over that. But if you are a coach And there are people who say, oh, I'm a lifetime college coach. This is exactly where I want to be. It's all I've ever wanted to do. I want to work with these student athletes. I want to watch them matriculate. I want to watch them grow into men. It's a bunch of horse hockey. You give any of these college coaches, and they'll come out and say, oh, no, this is my choice. I'm staying. You give any of them a firm offer to be an NFL 1 of 32 head coaches, with almost zero exceptions, people are doing it. And for Bill Belichick, it's even more certain. So if you think this was the last rumor that you are going to hear about Bill reportedly having teams reach out or him having interest, you are incorrect. Speaking of coaches, we had a very, very good question come in. And Coco, will you play some music, please?
You know what I want? I want to talk to Samson.
So you want to talk to Samson. Thank you for getting into my ex at David P. Samson. You're into my ex. Appreciate that. I got to call it Twitter because that just comes off wrong as a divorcee, doesn't it? And I appreciate you contacting me at davidsamsonpodcast.com. Hello, David. We've really gotten through to people, Coca. People are being nice about that. Earlier this year, you said that Brian Flores wouldn't or shouldn't get another head coaching job while he was involved in litigation with the NFL. Do you still think that's the case? Well, thank you for bringing up this topic because I definitely wanted to discuss that with you. Because part of the names you are hearing, one of the names you're hearing is the defensive coordinator for the Vikings. Right now, the New York Jets and their consulting company, the Chicago Bears and their mess of an organization, the Jacksonville Jaguars with maybe the craziest, worst owner in sports, Shad Khan, they've all requested interviews to interview Flores to be a head coach. Did we talk about the video yesterday of Shad Khan doing a press conference with his GM? I can't remember if we talked about that, Coke, on the show. Where he did do you remember by chance? Where he did a press conference with his GM, and one of the media members said, hey, what would you do if a coach you wanted to hire wanted a different GM? And he said, well, I'd be open to that. With his GM sitting right there. The GM was looking into the camera like this. He just sort of, if you're not watching this on the YouTube channel or on DKN, he just sort of had his eyes glazed, looking forward into the camera. His hands were folded in front of his body. And he had this look, this stupefied look with his eyes half closed like, huh? I work for this clown? God, I'm happy every 2 weeks, and that's about it. For those of you who have forgotten, Brian Flores was the head coach of the Dolphins. Brian Flores was the embattled head coach of the Dolphins. Brian Flores was the one who made Tua say to himself, man, I wish that I had a good coach so I could be a better quarterback. I'm not sure what Tua is saying now about McDaniel, although Tua is happy because he got his contract. But more importantly, Brian Flores, as a brilliant defensive mind, is getting consideration because that's how owners think. If there is a brilliant offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator, they are the next wave of coaches. If there's a brilliant defensive coordinator who used to be a head coach, who has experience having been a head coach, being the number one guy, there's a good chance that they're being considered for another job. The problem is that Brian Flores is in the middle of a lawsuit against the NFL and its teams over discrimination. Remember, Brian Flores is the one who said that all my interviews were shams. All of them were just Rooney interviews. Remember the Selig rule, the Rooney rule, where you have to interview a minority, and if you don't, you have to explain to the commissioner why you didn't, and then you just say to the commissioner, I wanted to hire this guy, and the commissioner says, all right, just make sure you hire some minorities at different positions, or at least interview some minorities. Remember, there are a bunch of minorities who don't like the Rooney rule or the Selig rule because it does lead to sham interviews, and it leads to actually not having people think that they were qualified to get jobs that they were qualified to get. There's a whole situation surrounding these rules. But what Brian Flores was alleging was far deeper than just the sham interview. He was alleging that there was a concerted plan in place by teams and the league to make it so minority coaches would not have opportunities to coach. That is a major accusation. That lawsuit is pending. It's going through arbitration, litigation, figuring out what the situs will be. Will it be in a court? Will it be in an arbitrator's room? If you are an NFL team and Brian Flores comes into your office, what do? Do you interview him and ask him about his great job in Minnesota? What did he learn? That's one of the questions you ask. What did you learn from your first head coaching experience that would make you a better head coach today? Who would you have helping you on the offense side with the quarterback that we have so you don't have the same issues that you had with Tua? What makes you think that you're better positioned today than yesterday? Those are questions you're supposed to ask. Here's what I would ask. Brian, if you want this interview to last more than 3 minutes, I'm going to want to get a letter from your lawyer that you are dropping the lawsuit against teams and the NFL. Period. There is no reason to have one discussion with that man. Not one. Do you think you're watching and listening to this show? I want you to go sue your company right now and see how that is for your career with that company. And I'm not talking about retaliation. I'm talking about real life. I'm talking about your employer looking at you and saying, you're going to sue me? No problem. I may settle. I may give you a penny or two. I may purposefully not settle. I may cause you to have legal fees up the wazoo. But you can bet your sweet bippy that you will not be employed here going forward. Through hell or high water. That's not just sports. That is any business anywhere. There are laws that are designed to stop companies from retaliating against employees. When employees file lawsuits, whatever laws exist that protect those employees are meaningless and toothless and don't work. The NFL trying to prove a point that Brian Flores is now a candidate, even though he's in the middle of litigation, as though it makes him look so good. You think that Roger Goodell calls up Robert Kraft and says, dude, thank you so much for interviewing Pep Hamilton and Brian Leftwich. You're the man. The Patriots do this entire release saying, we just interviewed Byron and Pep. And they put pictures of them, 2 African Americans. Look at us go. Robert Kraft, the king of having concerns in this area. It's an absolute disgrace. I don't think there should be the Rooney Rule or the Selig Rule. I've told you the way I liked hiring. It's a very simple way that I hired. And I think that that goes not just for managers or GMs or people in sales or finance or marketing or PR. I had a very simple rule, and I've told you the rule before on Nothing Personal during a mailbag episode. I'll tell you again. Can you do your job to the point where it makes me look better at the job I've done and gets me more money, gets me a bigger bonus, gets our company more profitable? I really don't care if you're tall, short, black, white, brown, green. You could be the Wicked Witch of the West. Doesn't really matter to me. We'll see what happens here. It's going to be quite interesting. Thanks for that question. But I'll tell you right now, he's not getting another head coaching job. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to review one of our top 100 movies, which reminds me, Coca, I had such a tough trip where I was sick for so long, I didn't redo my top 100. I have to talk to you about that. We're going to talk about that right after the break. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. I have a bit of a conundrum here, Coca. I got a phone call 16 minutes ago, right after this show, which is live right now. It is 8:34 a.m. Eastern time. I'm going to have a procedure done because I didn't use sunscreen enough when I was younger. And now I've got skin cancer issues with my face. So I'm having this entire thing done, which is a procedure that will make me unattractive for the next couple of days. I don't know how I'll look for tomorrow's show, but they called right during the show. Do you think the doctor was calling to cancel? Do you think the doctor was calling to confirm? And I have no way of knowing because I'm in a live show. If we were taping this, I would have said, Coco, hold on, let me take the call. So now it's in my head because the appointment is literally in 40 minutes. All right, we'll worry about that later. I have a list of top 100 movies on davidsamsonpodcast.com, and I update the list every January. I was supposed to update it on the trip, and I was so sick that I didn't update it. So I have to do that, Coca. Maybe this weekend while I'm convalescing from this procedure, which may or may not have been canceled 18 minutes ago when the phone rang. I'll relook at my top 100. But we're reviewing a movie from the top 100 every Thursday for 100 Thursdays. This week, we're reviewing a movie called The Breakfast Club, which is John Hughes' vehicle about kids in high school who are in detention. There is a bully, there's an athlete, there is a beauty queen, there's a nerd, and there's a strange, weird girl played by Ali Sheedy. It is an 80s movie, and I promise you, and it's strange because I know that if you're born in the 2000s, and there's a big percentage of you listening to this show who are young and were born in 2000, it would be like me when I was my parents saying, hey, watch a movie from the 1940s. And I'd be like, no, thank you. Not that interested. I get it. I really do. I'm begging you to get your kids, teenage kids. And if you don't have teenage kids, no problem. Good for you. Get your significant other. If you don't have one, get yourself. Watch this movie. If you don't associate yourself with one of these 5 characters, you're just lying to yourself. We're all one of the characters. The movie is about how people interact on a detention. I got so many detentions when I was in school. I used to get in so much trouble. Now, of course, it would just be medication for ADHD. Back when I was growing up, there was no medication. There was no nothing. There was just me getting kicked out of class because I couldn't sit still in a class ever. And that's like through 9th grade. And then in high school, I just would cut class because I couldn't do it. So this movie, it hit me so hard when I saw it for the first time in the 80s, and I got to watch it again. And it was just as meaningful. And I've watched it, I bet you, 20 times. Get to me at David P. Samson. Tell me which character you like, and tell me whether or not that when you're 20 years out of high school or 30 years out of high school or 10 years out of high school, if you look back at these moments and say to yourself, will we talk on Monday? That's the whole point of the movie. When you are in a situation with people where a relationship starts that's outside of school, what happens in the hallway the next day? It happens at work. It happens with your relationships. It is the most common theme for you to think about. What do we do when we're not in this moment? And the answer to that question informs how people perceive you. It informs how you should view yourself. The Breakfast Club is one of the deepest, most meaningful, important movies I've seen in my life. And that is not in any way hyperbole. All right, we've got a random number generator, and we have randomly generated the next movie that we are going to review. And it is next Thursday. God, I love my list, Coca. We're going to review Rain Man. Dustin Hoffman, Tom Cruise. Hell yeah. I've got some stories about Rain Man. All right, Coca. Tonight's a big night. CFP semis. How excited are you? Are you going to watch the Orange Bowl? Notre Dame, Penn State? I want to mention a few things that are going on with this game that I'd like to better understand. I can't understand. The winner of tonight's game will go to the finals. That seems pretty obvious. People are talking about that there are 2 black coaches which means there's going to be a black coach in the finals. First time. Meanwhile, the coaches are saying, why are we talking about race? Why aren't we talking about the fact that there are 4 coaches right now in the semis, all of whom are first-time semis, which means they will all be first-time finalists, which means they will all be first-time winners. No matter what, we will have a first-time winner. This is not a white-black issue. We have a tendency to have a need to require categories. We like having stats. First to do this, the second in the last 42 years to do that. 3 people since the modern era have accomplished this. It's a way to mark time. It's a way to mark accomplishment. What if we made it so that it actually didn't matter? And going back to our conversation before the break, what if we made it so it didn't matter, that it wasn't noteworthy what color a coach was, what age, what sex? What if it didn't matter what sex a referee was or an umpire? What if we didn't have to mark all of these monumental moments because they were just moments and we gave them the respect they deserve? The coach of Penn State, the coach of Notre Dame, they are deserving to be where they are because of their ability to coach. You don't need to know what they look like. It doesn't make them better or worse coaches if they were white or Mexican or black or brown or green. What makes them so good is they've gotten their teams to this point, no matter how they did it. And you've got people right now criticizing Notre Dame. Oh, they've got an easy schedule. They don't have to win a conference title game. My friend Danny Cannell wants to make it very clear to everybody how great it is for Notre Dame to be Notre Dame. Well, I got a surprise for all of you. If you could be Notre Dame, you'd be Notre Dame too. If you could get money and not share it with the conference and keep it all to yourself because you could cut your own TV deal, you do it. No one's forcing you to be in a conference. Yes, when you make money as a part of a conference, you have to share it with the conference. Nobody's forcing the Dodgers to be part of Major League Baseball. Go do your own league. We told owners that when we were fighting with small revenue versus large revenue owners. No problem. You want to start a super league? Have fun. Go get a TV deal where you're playing the same 3 teams for 160 times. Let's see your season tickets and corporate sales. I'm in. I'm not scared of that. Shouldn't be scared of anybody wanting to not be in a conference. The people who are scared of it are the commissioners of the conferences, are the lower teams in conferences who get dragged along with revenue from the upper teams. It's very scary when someone can do something on their own. Very scary. Because it just shows by frame of reference what you're not able to do. That's why people put other people down. That's why people do Lashon Hara and gossip. You just want to feel better about yourself and your crappy lot in life or your inability to maximize revenues. It's called yucking on somebody's yum. It's as common as the day is long. I'm not going to yuck on Notre Dame. I'm happy for them. I'd love there to be other teams who have the ability to do what Notre Dame can do. And you want to talk about strength of schedule? They're not exactly playing a bunch of patsies. Notre Dame is not scheduling 13 games against Division 14 teams, FCS teams. Notre Dame is favored against Penn State in this semifinal game. Do you think that the line takes into account strength of schedule to this point? Do you think the line takes into account conference placement, revenue sharing, TV deals? I was just trying to think about this. I think the line takes into account where people are putting money. It's basically a pick'em game. Penn State's plus 1.5. I'm going to watch it. I haven't watched the college football game, many of them this year. I'll watch the semis today and tomorrow. I'll watch the championship game. When is that, Coca? January 20th or something? Is that the date of the final? Do you remember when the final game, like the championship, was January 3rd? Sometimes it was January 1st. And then it moved to like January 5th. Now there's still college football January 20th. It's absurd, Coca. It's practically spring training for crying out loud. Nothing personal pick of the day. We're back, baby. Did you think we stopped because we had such a crappy year last year where we went 172 and 186 and it was a total embarrassing stinker? We had to wait to see last year that we would finish 500 and we'd finish in the money, and we did not. We lost money last year. We lost units, and we finished 14 games under 500. Well, guess what our record is in 2025? Wait for it. Donuts, baby. We are 0-0. So, Coca, an official wait to see on January 9th, 2025. In 2025, where we are doing 1 unit per pick, we will do picks as we do every show. They're called the Nothing Personal Pick of the Day. We will finish above 500 and in the black. And let's start off right now. To my dear friend Brad, I'm sorry for this in advance, but there is a chance that I'm going to start off hot. Today's pick of the day is Penn State plus 1.5 versus Notre Dame. Look for Franklin and Penn State to make it to the final game to try to win a national championship. It's going to be a close game, but we're taking the points. Okay. We got to talk about something here if we only have a few minutes left. And I wanted to just mention something that's happening. An announcement was made yesterday. Some rumor came out that the Minnesota Twins could be sold by opening day. We did a segment where the Ishbia brothers may be interested in the Twins. Matt, who owns the Suns, his brother Justin may want to buy the Twins. Maybe be partners with Matt. Have Justin run the team. There was a release, a rumor that MLB has started to vet potential owners, that the discovery room has been opened. I want to explain what that is. When you are buying a team, you need access to the team's numbers. You need access to the team's contracts, every contract with every player, every contract with every corporate executive, with every corporate partner, with every employee, front office person. When you are doing diligence, it's called. It used to be you go into an actual room with files and files and hundreds of pages of papers. For the expos, it was at the train station at La Gare in downtown Montreal. It was just a huge document room with real, just go box by box. It's crazy. Now it's digital. You get access to a room and you get to open files, environmentally friendly. It takes a long time to do due diligence. And then once you do due diligence, you formulate an offer to buy an asset. But how you buy that asset, it's a huge negotiation. Are you buying the assets and the liabilities? Is it just an asset purchase sale? Are you buying a percentage of the team? What entities are you buying? Because teams have a ton of entities, meaning there's a ton of different companies as part of the Minnesota Twins. These are very complicated transactions that don't happen overnight. The possibility of the Twins getting a deal done before opening day, which is what's rumored. Opening day is March 31st. To take control of a baseball team, you need to not just negotiate and get signed an agreement with the owner of the Twins. You have to fully negotiate and get documents signed with Major League Baseball that are totally separate agreements about becoming a franchisee of MLB. Then you have to get agreements done for financing on the theory that nobody but Ballmer or Steve Cohn is just writing a check from their checking account. The people or purchasers are borrowing money. You have to negotiate with baseball the amount of money you can borrow. You negotiate when payments are going to be made. You figure out how the transition is going to happen. This stuff doesn't take a day or a week or a month. And if you're the Twins, You're not taking the first offer. You're the Polad family. What? Because Ishbia is going to offer you $1.7 billion? I'm in. You got to see if you can get $1.8 billion. Even if you are going to lose money in 2025 operationally, which the Twins are, you don't want to be penny wise and pound foolish and just accept the first offer to get out from under operational losses. And even if you have decided on who the one owner is going to be, there is a huge number of negotiations that take time. So for those thinking that the Twins are going to magically trade hands and be ready for opening day, I got a surprise for you. It can't happen that way because it's just business. See you tomorrow. This is nothing personal.